Okay, everybody. So, like I said, welcome to your first chemistry class for Chemistry 1120. Some of you, again, it might be your first semester here. So, my name is Mark Skanes. You can see this on the screen that I'm sharing. I'll get my little pen here. See if I can get my pen here. Yeah, so you can see my name right here, okay, in my welcome message that I posted last week. So you can just call me Mark. You don't need to say Mr. Mark or anything like that. Just call me Mark. And my email is right next to my name. That is by far the best way to contact me. And I'll explain a little bit more about contacting me shortly. So there's not much to say about myself. I've been at the college for 12 years, and I've been at CNAQ in Qatar for this is my 8th year. So I've taught this course many times. I'm very familiar with this material, and I think we should have a good time. Because I've taught this course so many times, I have a lot of material for you. So practice quizzes, worksheets, sample tests, all sorts of things that I will be sharing with you throughout the semester. I'm, again, very happy to see 27 of you here. It's really, really important to everybody that you check this D2L all the time. So I hope you guys got my link on D2L. If not, you might have gotten the link on the email that I sent. I won't be sending an email all the time. I'm hoping to get out of the email business and just use D2L. And you guys will become much more familiar with this as the semester goes on. And I'll talk about how the D2L works, but everybody, you should, if you can't find the link to this, you can always type in D2L CNAQ into Google. It will come up right away. You can log in using your college email, like student number and your password that you use for email. So 27 of you that are here, if you can log into your email, you can log into D2L. And you have to use this more important than ever because we're online for part of this semester. The labs and some of your tests and final exam will be on campus, but the D2L, or sorry, the lectures, the classes, we're going to do practice problems and go through material, that will be online. Okay, so right here, where can I find more information? These two things are what I'm going to go over today. These are extremely important documents. When do classes begin? Well, we know they began yesterday. For us, our first class is today. Classes, I've had a few people email me in the last few days. Is the first class online or are they all online? And the answer is all of your classes are online for now. If the COVID situation improves, maybe we can come back to campus. If the COVID situation gets worse, we might even have to move the labs offline like we did last semester. And again, I know most of you weren't here last semester, but I'm hoping at least we can keep it like this. There's another note here. I see some messages in the chat. I'll get to them in a second. It says, will there be labs this semester? And yes, there are labs, and the labs are on campus. And I will talk about your labs in a little bit. So with that all said, let's kind of look at your D2L and look at what's important. And I'll show you kind of how to navigate through the D2L. So first, before I do that, let's see what is in the chat. All right, sorry. This app sometimes gives me trouble. All right. Oops. There we go. Okay, so I have a couple messages here. Our test and final will be on campus. The answer to that is yes. I'll talk about that in a second. I have another question that says, I think quiz and midterm is online. That's not true for this course. I don't know. This was a message from Hamza in the chat. Um, for this course and for biology and physics, any large tests or midterms that are over 15% are on campus. So, and I have another question from Bader. I hope I'm saying your name right, about assignments and quizzes. Let me get into that in a second. So for anybody wondering about what's on campus and what's not, just give me a second to get into that. Okay, so first things first, let me show you how D2L works. Okay, so now, and let me do something as well. I'm going to change my view so that this looks more like a student's D2L. Okay, and so this is what you guys should see when you log into D2L. Okay, you have some links up at the top, and then you have your news feed at the bottom. So you have links here, you have news here. I'm going to update your calendar here as we go through the semester. So any quizzes, assignment, well, there are no assignments, sorry, but quizzes and labs, they will be posted on the calendar over here on the right of your screen. News is here on the left of your screen. And then up here, you have a lot of links. But you guys will only need a few of these links. Course home is where we are right now. The next important link is content, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Assessments, which we might not talk about today in terms of how do they work, but any of your online quizzes will be there. And again, I'll talk about the quizzes in a minute. And then, of course, your Zoom, you can click here. The Zoom is where you can find meetings or any Zoom classes that are happening. I will post Zoom links. Sorry, my pen. Something happened with my pen. I will post Zoom links here as well. Okay, so there's really 3 or 4 important things: course home, content, assessments, and Zoom. Everything else you probably won't need. Now, all right, so I have a message there. If a student can't hear me very clear, that might be my connection or your connection, I don't know. But one thing I'll mention, for anybody who's having trouble connecting, I had in the last class, somebody had some trouble connecting. If you can't hear me, if you lose your internet, whatever, all of these recordings will end up on YouTube, and I will share the YouTube links on the D2L. So if you guys miss a class, maybe you're sick or you're busy or something happens and you miss a class, every video, every class will be uploaded to YouTube. And I'm going to make a YouTube playlist. I don't know how familiar you are with YouTube. I mean, if you're like me, I watch YouTube all the time. So I'll make a playlist. And that playlist I will populate or fill with your videos that will be labeled. So if you know you missed a lecture, lecture 2 in week 3, I will have a video on YouTube for that. Okay, so for anybody who can't hear me or is having problems or they miss a class, every single video, every single class will be on YouTube. Okay, so let's get started with the content. So guys, I'm going to click here on the content link, or a link, I guess, yeah. So content. In the content, you will see a lot of stuff that's there, and that some stuff that's not there. You know, this is new. I'm starting to populate the course. So, okay, let's go to kind of where you would start here. On the left of the page, you kind of have your, they're called modules, but they're basically groupings or, you know, I don't know how to say it, but it's like it's an organization, a table of contents, I guess, of the material in this course. So we have course information, your lecture notes, labs, and then this is kind of like a help if you need help, how to use D2L and things like that. So course information is very important, and that's what we're going to do today. All of your lecture notes, so there's about 6 units in this course, all of your lecture notes will go here. Everything, all of your PowerPoints, like everything I do will go in there. Labs you can find here, and then student support, you know, just kind of like a help button. So I'm going to click on course information, okay, which I already have that done, but I'll click again. So course information, and in the course information, this is what we're going to do today. And you can see here, you know, I've opened one of these. I was looking at this one earlier to make sure it was updated. So these 2 bits of information, very, very important. So let's start with my course information sheet. All of these files I will upload as PDFs. And again, I'm not sure how familiar you are with that stuff, but the idea is you can print these. There are places at the college that you can print. You can print at home, of course, if you have a printer, but you can always come and print things off in the college. I'm not going to print a whole lot for you. Just not waste paper, but your labs and everything like that will all be printed for you. So let's look at this course information sheet. All right, you can see it opens up here. So let's kind of go through some of this information together. Okay, so you can see my name, Mark or Mark Gaines. Just Mark is fine. This is my office. My office, I'm not going to be in it a whole lot this semester unless, you know, the COVID kind of changes. But any day that I have labs or you have a chemistry lab, I will be in my office or around my office. Before we started using D2L, I used to use Twitter. The easiest way for online is to use D2L. So 5 or 6 years ago, I would use Twitter and post updates there, you know, lab 2 tomorrow, test 2 on Wednesday. But now I'm going to use this. This is the most important thing that you need this semester, like by far the most important. My telephone, so this is what I'm on right now, by the way, this link here. My telephone, typically, you know, this would get you to my office, but I'm not in my office. So the easiest way to get a hold of me this semester is email, okay? You can email me anytime. It comes directly to my phone, and I'll answer it when I can. So if I'm awake, I'll answer it, put it that way. All right. So now, okay, I had another great question. So if you guys have your chat open, you can see the question there. The lab instructor is also me. That's a tricky question. You might have me, or you might have another instructor for your lab. It really depends on what section lab that you are in. So you might have me, you might have someone else, but it's all the same. The other instructor has been here a year longer than me. So she's been here 9 years. So if you don't have me, you'll have another instructor named Michelle. And this should all be on your calendar, your schedule. You'll find out in your lab anyways. All right. So this part, let me scroll down a little bit. This part, so important, the evaluation. And this is, guys, where I had a few questions about online versus offline. Okay, well, okay, let me start with this right here. You see in red in capital letters, course evaluation may be subject to change because of the continuing situation with COVID-19. This online, offline stuff can change this semester. If COVID improves, if phase 4 works really well and we can tackle the number of cases, we might try to move back on campus. But I have been told up until November, this is how we're going to do it. If COVID gets worse, which inshallah it does not, hopefully it does not get worse, but if it gets worse, we might have to move completely online, meaning nothing will be on campus. And that's what we did last semester in April and May and June. And it worked well, but this is a little better. So look at the evaluation. Sorry, just reading. Look at the evaluation here. There are basically 3 parts of your evaluation. There are quizzes, there are labs, and there are your final exam. Quizzes are worth 40%. Now you're looking at those numbers, just add them up. 40%. Okay? What that means is we're going to have 2 tests, and they'll be 15% each, and they will be on campus week 7 or 8. Like the first test will be around, the end of week 7, maybe first class of week 8, and then week 12. I'll show you what I mean by like week 7 and week 12. I have a calendar at the bottom of this document. The other 10% will be online. And I'm not going to worry about that today, like how to show you how to do that, because I don't have any quizzes online for you. But 10% of your course will be done through online, kind of multiple choice, fill in the blank style quizzes. Nothing too crazy, very, very simple online quizzes. Might take you 5-10 minutes to do. So you will have 2 tests on campus worth 15% each. And then you will have a number of quizzes, maybe, 8 quizzes online. They're only worth a couple percent each, maybe 1.5 or less, 1.3% each. Very easy. Your labs are worth 10%, and they are on campus. So all of your labs will be done on campus, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then your final exam at the end of the year, for now, is on campus. Again, we will keep monitoring what the Ministry of Education says and what the numbers of COVID are. Hopefully we can have your final exam on campus, but we'll see. So I had a message there, can't the finals and labs on campus and the quizzes online? Yes. So again, that's kind of what I'm saying. The labs are on campus, 100%. The final is on campus. Your very short quizzes are online, but you will have 2 tests worth 15% on campus. And obviously that's weeks away, right? And we'll talk more about that when we get there, right? That's not until week 7 or week 8 anyways. So that's a long, almost 2 months away. Okay, so again, you'll have 2 on-campus tests, labs and final on campus, and then everything else will be online. Classes and quizzes will be online. No, I had a question there. Are we going to open the camera in the quiz? Guys, the quizzes that are online, you do at your own time. No camera, no Zoom, no meeting. You'll have a week to do it. You do it whenever you want. You can do it 4 in the morning. You can do it 3 in the afternoon. And again, we'll talk more about this when it gets closer. You'll really understand how this works as we do more of this course. So again, the question was, for these online quizzes, do we need cameras? No, 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 no. You do them all on your own time. You can do them on your phone. You can use your tablet. You can use your laptop, whatever. Don't worry. I'm not going to be watching you on a camera while you write a quiz. All right. There is no midterm. So Mohammed just asked a question. Is there a midterm? There's no midterm. Okay. No midterm. You have, like I said, 2 tests, online quizzes. You have a couple of those, very easy, labs and final. All right. Again, I don't want to spend too much more time with you. I have another class in 15 minutes, well, in 25 minutes. This will make more sense as we go through. Don't worry. You won't have any surprises. I'm not going to, say, oh, surprise, you have to be on campus tomorrow. Just don't worry too much about this. We'll talk a lot about this as the course, progresses. Okay, so don't worry about it today. Just as long as you know that you'll have 2 tests and labs on campus in your final exam as well. All right. There are no I'm getting a lot of questions, which is fine. I love questions. There are no assignments. This is your outline. Whatever this says, this is what you have. Okay. Now I'm going to leave it at that, guys. We'll talk more about this later, but that's your outline. That's what you have. Okay. So passing grade, 50%. You need a 50 to pass this course. This is really important, the next one. Some of you guys are probably new students, maybe all of you. This, very important. This is the college's policy. You are required to submit sufficient documentation. So that's fancy words for a medical note or, hopefully this doesn't happen, but maybe you had a serious traffic accident or a death in the family. Any of those reasons are sufficient. And you need to bring proof, reasonable proof. We're not crazy, but need to bring proof of this to the registrar's office. The registrar's, that's a hard word to say. The registrar's office is in building 1. And if you ever can't find a building, come to the campus. The security guards can tell you exactly where to go, where to park, what building to go into. Security will help you. When you pull up to the gate and show them your Iteraz app, right, they'll tell you where to go. But you need to bring a note within 2 days if you miss a test or a lab, okay? Very important that you do that, and I'll explain why. If you miss a lab, okay, well, sorry, let's start with tests. If you miss a test, I might be, if there is time, be able to give you a makeup test. And this, it says it's a conditional basis. What I mean is, if there's time, if we can meet, right? This is a weird semester, so if we can meet sometime. I mean, I don't care. I don't have a life. I can come to the campus at night. I don't care. But if we can meet, if you are free and I am free, you can do a makeup test if you miss a test. If you miss a lab, that is it. You have missed the lab. We don't have the staff. We don't have the ability to offer makeup labs. It takes hours to set up a lab. And when all of the labs are done, we take the lab away. And like the material, the chemicals, we dispose of them. It takes hours. And we cannot do makeup labs. So what does this mean? What this means is, if you miss a lab or a test or something, if you have a note, no problem. You will not get a 0. If you can do a makeup test, then that's it. That's your grade. You're good to go. If you can't do a makeup, like if you miss a lab, but you have a note, you will not get a 0. I just will not mark that lab. So say you have 8 labs, you only get marked out of 7. Okay, that's if you have a note. If you do not have a note, you get a 0. No questions, no arguing, you get a 0. Now, again, traffic accident. Now, remember what I said there, like an accident. You cannot blame traffic for a lab. Okay, it needs to be a medical note. Maybe you had to go to the hospital. Maybe someone was very sick. Maybe you were sick, but do not miss a lab and say there was traffic. You were driving in from Alcor and there was a lot of traffic. That you can't use traffic. So do not say traffic. Okay, you need a note. All right, I'm going to move on here. I got to finish pretty soon, guys. I have to get ready for my next class. So, and we're almost done. I just had a good question. Are these rules possible to change, like if something comes from the government? Absolutely. That's a really good point. If the government says that they don't want people getting medical notes, like they're trying to keep the hospitals free, then the college will work something out. But this is not my policy. This is the college's policy. So again, that's a really good question. If something comes from the government, the college, the whole college will fix it and change it. But as of right now, this is the policy. And I had a question, what do you need for the lab? That's what I'm going to get into before I finish. I'm hoping to finish up in maybe 5 more minutes because, again, I have another class. Okay, so let me get moving. Guys, anything I don't get through today, I'll do tomorrow, but this is pretty much all I wanted to get to. I just want to talk about the labs and then you're free. You're done. So one thing here about late assignments, the only thing I'll mention like about say a test, and when I say assignments, this is a general kind of sheet. For you guys, it would be your quizzes. Okay, forgot my U there. If you say want to hand in something late, like the online quizzes, as long as I don't hand it back, you can get an extension. Any quizzes or assignment, like again, there's no assignments in this course, but the quizzes is more what I'm talking about. Anything that I've handed back to the class, you cannot hand in at that's it. So what I mean is, say you miss a test or you miss one of the online quizzes, I can give you a makeup as long as I don't hand it back to the class. So just keep that in mind. If you're sick and you miss a quiz, as long as I don't hand it back to the class, you might be able to do a makeup. All right, I'm going to keep moving. Formats of the exams or quizzes will be given at least 1 week before you write them. So, what to study, how many multiple choice, how many, fill in the blank, or how many questions. I will give that to you a week before. All right, calculators. You can bring a calculator to quizzes and exams, but you cannot bring mobile phones or smartwatches. So in the quizzes, they need to stay in your pocket. In the exam, you actually have to leave them in your car or locker or with security. You can't even bring them into the room. But calculators you can bring. I don't care what brand calculator you have. You can have a cheap one from Carrefour, or you can have a fancy graphing calculator. Doesn't matter. My office hours, I will post on D2L. They will be done online. They don't really want you guys coming into instructors' offices as much as possible. The other thing I'll mention, email me. If you want to have a one-on-one Zoom meeting, uh, or you want to chat back and forth even on email, maybe you don't want to have maybe you don't want to go on Zoom, just send me an email. I can meet you on Zoom. Um, we can chat back and forth on email. We can always talk before and after your lab as well, and in the lab. So really the best way to get to talk to me is to send me an email, and I'll get back to you if I'm awake. All right, almost done. The suggested resources, guys, the only resource you'll really need is the D2L. Okay, so D2L, these are okay as well. These are just YouTube videos that you can watch, but really the only thing you need is the D2L. This is your major course topics. I'll talk more about that tomorrow. We'll talk about kind of what's in the course and what chapters or topics we're going to do. Okay, guys, the rest you can kind of read on your own, the rest of this page anyways. Academic dishonesty means please do not cheat. So cheating, copying other people's work, they're not acceptable, and you'll be reported if you like cheat. Now, when I say cheat, I mean if you're caught looking at someone's test, or you're caught with a smartphone with photos of people's tests. I've seen it all. I've seen so much stuff. Just please do not cheat on your tests or final exam. Okay. I mean, the labs you're going to be chatting with each other, but I'm more concerned about the two big tests and your final. I don't want to see phones or people talking, things like that. Attendance, you are required to attend all classes. Make sure you attend. The big thing from attendance is this one, lab attendance. If you miss, I'm going to underline something really important here. If you miss more than 3 labs without a doctor's note, or some sort of note, again, whatever note you can bring, if you miss more than 3 labs, you have to drop the course. I've been teaching for 12 years at the college. I've only seen that happen maybe 2 or 3 times, but you have to bring a note if you miss a lab. If you miss 2 labs and you don't have a note, no big deal. You don't have a drop, but you have to bring a note, or basically you can't miss more than 3. Okay, without a note. If you have a note and you miss 3, that's fine, but you need a note. Guys, I'll talk more about that in the lab. Okay, so we'll talk more about this in the lab. So guys, this brings me to the last bit. I really got to finish up here. So the last bit, lab information. I had a student earlier just ask me, what do we need? Heba, I think she mentioned, what do we need for the lab? All right, so here we go. Lab. Your lab, please refer to your class schedule for when your lab is. All of you guys will be in different lab sections. So there's 30 of you in the class, but you might be in different labs depending on your schedules. All labs will be done on campus unless stated otherwise. This is big, and this is kind of to answer the question I just had. Safety and personal protective equipment. And this guys is the last thing I'm going to say today. I have to go after that. We can only fit 15 students in the lab. So if you miss your lab, you cannot go to someone else's lab. We have a limit. For safety from the government and from the college, we cannot have more than 15 students in a room at one time. The next thing, masks, goggles, lab coats, and face shields are mandatory inside the lab. There's no tolerance for, and there's no exceptions. This is from the government, and this is from the college. You need to have all of these things. So the question is, where do you get these things? Okay. I'm running low on time. I'll talk a little bit more about this tomorrow, but very quickly, you guys should already have your own mask. If you don't have a mask, you should go to a pharmacy this weekend or get somebody, I mean, when I say mask, I mean what you use to walk into the mall. So, like if you go to Festival City, for example, they check your temperature, they check your app, and you have a mask on your face, make sure you're wearing a mask. Goggles and lab coats. You get at the bookstore. The bookstore is on campus, and you can go, I think it's building 16. You can go to the bookstore anytime this week, next week. If you don't want to come on campus, you can go before your next lab and get goggles and lab coats. And the last one here, this is new, okay? Face shields. Face shields we're making you wear in the lab. These will be given to you, okay? So face shields, guys, you can pick up from Building 9 security. Face shields are given to you. You have to buy your lab coats and goggles. Students have had to buy lab coats and goggles since I came to the college 12 years ago. That's not new. But face shields will be given to you. You get them from security in Building 9. I'll make a post about this, by the way, and you need your student ID. Okay. Yes, and hopefully you guys will buy them soon. Now, for you guys, this is the last thing I'll say. I really have to go because I have a class in 10 minutes. I'm like, this is so important. I cannot stress this enough. At minimum, when you guys come to lab number 1 next week, minimum, I need you to bring a mask. Let me clear all this. Minimum next week. Because next week, it's the first lab. We're not actually going to use any chemicals. It's lab safety. Bring a mask. And if you can, get your shield before. If you don't have your face shield, I'm just going to send you over to Building 9 to pick one up. So it's not a big deal. But mask for lab 1. Lab coats and goggles you need for lab 2. Okay, and every lab after that. But bring a mask at least to lab number 1. You cannot come in through the doors without a mask. Abdullah, and this is it because I really got to go. I just had a question from Abdullah. Can I wear coveralls instead of a lab coat? I don't want to say yes or no. I'll let you know in the lab next week if you can wear coveralls instead of the lab coat. And I just had another question. Do you need separate lab coats for each course? No. You can use the same lab coat for biology as chemistry, as physics, or whatever, pharmacy, whatever you're in. Coveralls, Abdullah, you can come with coveralls next week, no problem. And I'll let you know about lab coats after that. Okay, guys, I really have to go. It's 3:22, so I'm going to stop the recording. If you have any questions, let me know in the chat. But other than that, have a good day, and I'll see you in class, I guess, tomorrow.